So I think we're going to start. Welcome everybody here in presence and via Zoom to our International Research Funding Lunch. And dear colleagues, in cooperation with the regional research office, which is represented here.
And the network office.
The network office, which is presented over there. The ZHdK Research Dossier and the International Affairs Dossier warmly welcomes you here in presence and via Zoom to our lunch in fall semester 2021. Today's topic is Horizon Europe, and which is the European Union's 9th framework program for research and innovation, and the largest single funding program of its kind in the world. So it aims to build a knowledge and innovation-based society and a competitive economy while contributing to sustainable development. These are the main goals of the program. But as you all know and heard about, Switzerland quit the framework negotiations, so the federal government seeks for possibilities to give access to Horizon Europe to our researchers. And we will find out today what is the new situation about, where we'll get ZHdK members and researchers access to in the future or in the next year, in the next couple of years, and most important, which instruments are still available on focusing on arts and design. So the networking lunch will begin with two research experts outlining, first of all, which program instruments and calls are relevant for ZHdK members and researchers. And our two experts will also discuss how researchers from Switzerland can participate in Horizon Europe despite its current status as a third country. So I hand over to my colleague Tom from the Dossier International Affairs.
Thank you, Bjarke. I have to remind everybody that we will record the meeting on Zoom. I hope this is okay. And for everybody on Zoom, we will also make the slides available to you afterwards. So no need to screenshot things. I'm just interim. I'm filling in for Flora Balthasar, who had her second kid. So for one more month, I'm the head of the International Affairs Office. I just want to briefly tell you how this is going to work. You probably know this from before. Basically, this is a hybrid event. We'll be here, we'll be also on Zoom. After the two presentations, we will do a short Q&A here. But the idea is that afterwards, during the lunch, we can have individual discussions. And for the people who are not here, your questions, you can just post them in the chat, and they will be forwarded to us on WhatsApp, so you can also reach us while we're having lunch.
And so don't take us for unpolite that we check our mobiles now and then, because we really receive not only, we are not in the Zoom, Tom and me, but we will check on this. It is not that we not care about the presentations. We just care about your comments and questions in the chat. So let me introduce today's experts. Here's Patrik Ettinger. He received his master in history, sociology, and philosophy as well. Wow, I'm impressed. He did his PhD in sociology at University of Zurich, and he has more than 20 years experience in research and in managing an institute at the University of Zurich. He was visiting professor for communication and media research. He was co-head of the whoops, we lost something? I hope we didn't lose you. Of the University of Applied Sciences in the Zurich area. And he's now research and grants advisor and the first point contact for all questions related to Horizon Europe for ZHdK members. So
yeah, and still co.
And still, you're still not, you did not become the head of it, unfortunately. But this is the person you meet today via Zoom or here in person to really have a contact, not only today, but he's there available once a week. He's here in presence. And of course, you can reach him during the lunch, as Tom said, but also, well, every time you have a question, whatever it is about Horizon Europe.
Just a minute to get in contact.
And the next expert I would love to introduce is Jenny Klang. And Jenny has a background with a bachelor degree in biology and zoology, and did her MSc and PhD in psychology. So food in both camps, as you said, and I think this is quite correct, with experience in both natural and social sciences. She did her postdoc in psychology and biology at Neuchâtel, and I think you were at the grants office at Neuchâtel as well, and 2 years before moving to your research in January this year. And she's available for proposal help, for finding topics, help with partner search, which is very important for European grants, discussions on projects, proposal writing and review, and so on. So 2 very important people here who will support you in the future on everything which is about Horizon Europe. And so I hand over to you, Patrik, and the stage is yours.
Thanks, Thea, for this very warm introduction. Thanks, Tom, for being here and the opportunity to briefly introduce you to the structure of Horizon Europe. In my presentation, I will show what opportunities Horizon Europe offers for researchers at Zurich University, and I will briefly discuss the question of eligibility, Switzerland's status in Horizon Europe. As Bea mentioned, Horizon Europe is a huge research framework program. It has a budget of about 95 billion euro, and it started this year, and it will run for the next 7 years. Next slide, please. Horizon Europe is structured into 3 pillars. The first pillar, excellent science, funds basic research and groundbreaking research projects, whereas the European Research Council. It also includes grant funding via Marie Skolkowska-Curry actions and investment in world-class research infrastructures. The ERC and the Marie Skolkowska-Curry actions are so-called bottom-up programs, meaning that there are no predefined topics. So you are free in defining your research topics yourself. The main goal of Pillar 2, named Global Challenges and European Industrial Competitiveness, is to tackle global challenges and to strengthen the industrial competition in Europe. That means that this pillar funds research and innovation actions that tackle challenges that we all face. For example, harmful emissions, safe food, or challenges to democracy. Next slide, please. But what does Horizon Europe offer to you? That means to researchers at the universities of arts. You will probably find most of the topics that are of interest to you in cluster 2. And that's why Jenny will go into this cluster in more detail in a few minutes. But before that, I would like to give a few examples to show how broad Horizon Europe is and how many different funding opportunities it offers. All examples are taken from my daily work. So they show what your colleagues are interested in and what might be also of interest to you. For example, if you are a young and promising researcher with a PhD or an experienced researcher with an excellent track record, you might be interested in an ERC synergy grant. This grant allows you to collaborate with 1 to 3 PIs in Europe to conduct in-depth research on a topic of your choice. If you have a PhD student and are collaborating with other universities of the art to award a doctorate, an MSCA doctoral network may be the right choice for you. And as we have seen, the topics in Pillar 2 are predefined. This means that you have to look very carefully for the topic that matches your research interests. If we look closely, however, we find one or more topics related to art in almost all clusters. To give you just one example, in cluster 4, digital industry and space, there's a topic that deals with the impact of artists on the development of new technologies. So if you are active in the interface between arts and industry, you could moderate and reflect the activities of artists in this project. This example also shows an aspect that is typical for almost all collaborative projects. Here we work together with actors from very different fields: research, industry, arts, NGOs, or authorities, to name but a few. To mention another example from the third pillar, if you have knowledge in the field of design that can contribute to raise the technology level and competitiveness of companies, then the European Innovative Ecosystem, EIE, could be a program for you. And last but not least, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology has launched a call for proposals for a new knowledge and innovation community called KIC for Europe's culture and creative sectors and industries. Such a KIC brings together actors from business, education, and research. A KIC's portfolio of activities typically includes education and training, research and innovation projects, and support to startups. If the ZHdK decides to become a partner in this new KIC, this, of course, is a strategic decision with all its pros and cons. The new opportunities for research and teaching may arise. I hope that gives you a first impression of how many different opportunities Horizon Europe offers. One question remains: can researchers from Switzerland participate in all these consortia? Are we eligible? Please. You may have read headlines like this in recent months. EU suspends Swiss access to grants across 3 of the biggest research programs, or EU Forschungsprogramm startet ohne die Schweiz. Many researchers, including those outside Switzerland, have done so and were unsure whether a partner from Switzerland could still participate in Horizon Europe. Let me therefore state clearly, yes, you can, or more precisely, you can still participate in most of the Horizon Europe calls. Let me briefly mention the most important facts regarding the status of Switzerland. Switzerland will be treated as a non-associated third country in Horizon Europe until further notice. Switzerland will be researchers in Switzerland are excluded, yes, that's true, from participating in so-called mono-beneficiary instruments, such as individual ERC grants or MSCA postdoctoral fellowships. But you can still participate in approximately 2/3 of all calls, and notably in most collaborative projects. And you will receive funding from the Swiss Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation, SERI. Next slide, please. This slide gives you an overview of all the programs and clusters in which you can participate as a researcher from Switzerland. They are marked in yellow. You will see there are, sorry, most of them. I don't want to go into detail. Let me just mention that there are transitional measures for those programs from which Switzerland is currently excluded. At the moment, there are 2 transitional measures, the advanced grants and the Swiss postdoctoral fellowships, but transitional solutions will also apply for ERC starting grants and ERC consolidator grants for 2022. So to close up, Horizon Europe offers, next slide please, offers many opportunities for research. Sometimes this can be overwhelming, and often the right topic is not easy to find, but you are not alone. We are here to help you. So meet us, subscribe to our free services, follow us on social media, and let us guide through this framework program to find the instrument that suits best your needs and your interests. And with that, I will hand over to Jenny.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrik. Before we hand over to you, Jenny, maybe just we take a little Q&A or just content-wise questions that just came across via Zoom and here in presence. Is there anything you really want to just have a question about? Is something not clear?
I would have a question, but I don't know if it leads too far. Either two. You gave an example about the industry cluster. Obviously, I was more interested in the inclusive society, creativity, and culture cluster. Yeah. Could you give an example? Like, how is it collaborative projects you can apply with for such a grant, or could it be also, yeah, could you specify?
Well, I discussed that they were collaborative projects, but I didn't speak about it because it is really Jenny's task. So you will.
Very good. Okay. Thanks. And I think there is a more detailed question that's going to be relevant for PhD students here at our school. Like, do they have access to PhD grants? You mentioned the advanced or the postdoc grants that we don't have access to anymore.
We have doctoral networks, MSCA, but no specific PhD grants on the ERC level. ERC are really grants for advanced research.
Okay, and what's the other level? The MSA?
MSCA, Marines for Costa Curry actions.
Okay.
But those are not individual grants, but you have a network of universities, and this network will host PhD students.
Okay, and that's the only relevant kind of opportunity for PhD students.
Yes, really, if you are focusing on PhD grants and degree of PhDs, yeah, I would say so. Okay.
As you already noticed, there are opportunities, but the Horizon Europe is a jungle. So it really needs somebody with a sword, with a machete, to really get you through this. Because the biggest frustration you could ever have, if you want to have a bad day, you just go to the website and try to find out. So really, it is. I think the matchmaking point is really ask somebody of those experts who can really help detail your question or your discipline or field is, the more helpful they can be. Otherwise, frustration otherwise would be home delivered, if I can take quite honestly. So yeah, I think there are some gaps and things in between, but we really have to ask exactly those questions in my opinion. And let me just add something else. We are at ZHdK right now in the dossier research. We are since summer, since springtime and since summer, we are in contact with one of those HIC consortia for creative and cultural industries. And now we had to wait until we get to know more about the negotiations on the federal level. But now we will discuss, I think, in the winter with the Hochschulleitung, with the rectorate, with the university board, in how far it will be an opportunity for us to hop into such a key consortium. Now we cannot have a leading part there, but a networking part. But anyway, I think it could be helpful to establish networks because all of those more advanced researchers or universities are hopping in with a full network, in their package. And this is the most important thing. But we try to find out if this would be a good or helpful alternative to have any kind of, well, support or, well, good practice by those people. So this is helpful. Babelsberg, Filmhochschule Babelsberg is inside, Balto helped out. Austria is in with several art schools. So we will have a debate on a strategic level on this as well. So to that our ideas and negotiations are going on in this field, and we'll see. But we need also, of course, a little bit the taste or the idea. You are, if this would be interested from bottom-up level, because I think it only have helpful if the researchers want it. It's nothing you can just do on a top-down level. I think this is not work.
And that's connected to industries.
Mm-hmm. Creative sector, cultural sector, and industries. Babelsberg, so they will hit me when I say this, but they use this network at the kick to establish their connection with the movie industry, with the film industry. And of course, if we get together with and deeply connected with Babelsberg, for instance, this could be an opportunity to hop into their network as well. Everybody brings the network and spreads the network in this. This is the idea. But I don't want to tell too much about this, but give you just an idea.
I see there's one live question on Zoom.
Yep.
Well, I was writing it down on the chat right now, but I can tell it directly if you can hear me. Thank you very much. It's about the eligibility of artists. We have several colleagues here that have not, let's say, classical scientific background with a PhD, but a very, well, let's say, recognized track as artists, are also working in research and artistic research. Are that kind of profiles also eligible for grants?
Well, let me say, not really for grants. If you're speaking about the first pillar, that could be or would be difficult or very difficult. But if we are speaking about second pillar, collaborative project, there the big advance is that you can bring in any type of actors. So as I said, you will have researchers in, you will have industry in, NGOs, and of course artists as well. If the topic is focused on arts, for example. So if the topic description makes it necessary to bring in artists, that is even welcome to bring them in. So you are even welcome to bring them in.
And just to add two bits, in that case, it becomes an issue of the eligibility of the institution. And so obviously ZHdK is eligible as an institution. And so that would be where the judgment lies on the institution, not the actual artist or investigator.
Okay, thank you very much.